Y'all, so I wanted to share with y'all. I was going through some really old emails, and I don't even remember this letter, but this was a letter that my ex-husband um, emailed me, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and read it to you before my phone goes dead. The title of it was "I was thinking about you," and who knows, this may be able to save your marriage, or if you're going through a difficult time, maybe you can use some of the things that he put in here. But anyway, he sent this letter October 21st, 2014, and it says, "Hey babe, I'm pretty sure you aren't interested in speaking with me right now, and I'm not writing to give you a hard time. I figured this morning isn't pretty clear that whatever it is that I have been doing isn't working with you, and started praying and reading." Now, some of y'all said, "How do you know he was saved?" Well, it says he started praying and reading. At any rate, I'm copying some of the things that I come by here for you, just so you see what. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this while I'm holding this phone. And this phone is going dead, and my other phone is going dead. Like, these computers are acting really crazy. So, anyway, at any rate, I'm copying some of the things that I've come by here for you, just so you see what I am reading on. You don't have to read them, but maybe you could put this email next to the other one that you keep reading, and compare who I really am, to who you think I have become. This is a pretty long email, and I know you don't like to read through a whole lot of things, but I was thinking about you, and I really wanted to just send you something to let you know I was. So here it goes. One of the things I have been having difficulties with, it seems, is communicating with you. I picked up this piece and thought it had some good things to say. So sorry y'all, I have to scroll up so I can read it. Hold on, y'all. Oh my gosh. What just happened? It's like something don't want me to read this. So, let me see, where is it? So I picked up a piece and thought it had some good things to say. A non-squatter cartoon by Willie Miller pictures a couple in bed. The wife has put the book down. The wife has put down the book she's been reading and said something to her husband. Here's what he heard. "Time for the annual review of how you make my life a living nightmare." Wow. All she actually said, though, is, "Sweetie, let's talk about us." Why do some spouses, especially some husbands, seem to view communication as a form of torture? Bestie is wondering about this. She's heard that her husband Carl seems to have lost interest in her. She interprets his lack of communication as evidence that he doesn't love her. This put her in a panic. She becomes needy, controlling, try to force Carl to talk about the problem. This creates more pressure for Carl, who retreats further. Carl is overwhelmed by Betsy's need for communication. It feels like a void that could never be filled. This is decreasing his desire to be intimate with her. He's finding excuses to avoid even spending time together. He'd rather hang out with friends who are less demanding. Hold on, y'all. When the person you are married seems to change into something else, as Bestie thinks, Carl has, oh my gosh, Carl has, it's normal to feel disappointed and even hurt. She knows that part of this change is to be expected after settling into the day-to-day of married life, but longs for the other guy, the before marriage one who couldn't seem to stop talking nor get enough of her. She was so excited back then and believed it would go on forever. Now she feels duped. Maybe you do too. Maybe you fear your uncommunicated spouse isn't interested in you, isn't excited about you, or doesn't love you anymore. You might doubt that you married the right person or feel inadequate, insecure, and desperate for attention. When what happened to Betsy, she changed too. Now Carl finds himself wondering what happened to the self-assured, strong woman he first fell in love with. He misses her. Carl doesn't realize it, but Bessie has always had an unusual need for attention and communication. That's because she had a very stoic father whom she never able to please. It's good to examine whether your need to talk is reasonable or result of a troubling upbringing. Most couples need to help to discuss their needs in a productive way. Having difficult attitudes towards talking doesn't mean there is something wrong with either spouse, that anyone was deceived, or that the marriage is hopeless. And this is my husband. I don't know, babe. Here's another little thing I came by. I'm pretty sure that both of us are feeling like the other aren't having or listening or understanding each other. This seems a bit helpful. I do get overwhelmed sometimes when you are trying to communicate with me. I don't mean to. Now that's my husband talking right there. Relating to each other is not a technique we're born with. It's like a muscle that needs to be developed over time and a massage when it hurts. If you have a spouse who doesn't want to talk as much as you do, the following suggestions may help. Number 1, read about the difference between men and women, especially as they relate to communication. These differences are a mystery to almost everyone except God, but they may help to explain why your spouse tends to be silent type. Number 2, learn to not take things too personally. Number 3, don't overanalyze your partner. You may think you know what's behind your spouse's unwillingness to talk, but you can't read his or her mind. Number 4, talk about your feelings in a non-accusatory, non-blaming way. To do otherwise will only drive a reluctant talker further away, especially when it comes to discussing emotions. Number 5, ask your spouse what would make him feel less overwhelmed when it comes to communication. Would it help if you set aside a regular time for talking? If waited until he decompressed after work? ? Ask your spouse for a specific short commitment of time. Most reluctant, set the limit. You may find that it increases as he or she grows more comfortable. Number 7, learn each other's personality type and how it shapes communication style. Make the process fun, a discovery of your uniqueness, not an opportunity to stereotype each other. The quoted scripture that went with this was John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, that one laid down his life for his friends. In Romans 12:1, therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercy of God, to present your bodies as a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. Here's the next part I came by and read though. If you're feeling nagged to talk, you're probably feeling overwhelmed too. Avoidance may seem like the only solution for relief. This relief is only temporary, though, because it leaves your spouse without resolution and often determined to talk harder. You may begin to feel like a trapped victim at the mercy of your spouse needs to talk. Worse yet, you may anticipate another season of having your shortcomings pointed out. Avoidance doesn't work, but here are some suggestions if you're feeling concerned by a spouse who always seems to be asking, "Can we talk?" Number one, take the initiative to spend time doing things together other than talking. 2, go to a Christian bookstore and buy a book about communication in marriage. Read from it out loud to your spouse and ask her questions about your reactions. 3, share a chore like doing the dishes. You may find yourself communicating during the dull moments. 4, when she's not expecting it, ask her what she really needs. Say, "How can I show you I love you?" or "What would make your day easier?" 5, put the newspaper away, neglect a hobby, or shut the TV off in order to spend time with your spouse. 6, keep a sense of humor. Find a cartoon and how different men and women are and how they communicate. Make more fun of your own gender than the other person's. These are all good things to do, but it's also important for you to talk for the peace and quiet you may need. Otherwise, you'll probably feel like a helpless victim of your mate's demands. One way to do this is to set a specific time to talk. This should thrill your spouse, since it represents a commitment to communicate. The limits need to be spelled out. Though, in order to avoid false expectations, your spouse may be thinking of a marathon conversation while you may dread anything longer than a TV sitcom. Try 20 or 30 minutes to start. That's probably the most you'd want for a serious discussion. Pray at the beginning and at the end if you like. Get a kitchen timer and stick it to the limit. Promise not to run, but allow for a time out if things get too intense. What should you do during the time? Here are some ideas. I'm sorry, y'all, my hand is just shaking. Explore and discuss your needs for communication. Discuss your needs for quiet or alone time. Explore and discuss your needs for outside friendship and recreation. Use I statements to convey feelings of being pressured, overwhelmed, or discouraged. This will help keep your spouse from feeling attacked. For example, "I feel hopeless when I hear we need to talk because it reminds me of my mom. She always used that phrase when I was in trouble. This is better than 'you're just like my mom.'" The goal is for the speaker to feel heard and understood. If you need to take a time out, be sure to schedule a reunion within 24 hours for further discussion. This gives both of you a sense of reassurance and safety. This one above here, now this is my husband talking. This one above here, this was a big one that hit home to me. I really need time to think through things that are said to me, babe, especially if there is an emotion that is involved in them. I really would like to have family dinner time with you every day where we sit and eat and where I get home and just catch up. No computers on or phone calls or rushing off, but I don't want to ask you to do something you aren't interested in doing. I don't know, from the way you spoke to me on the way to work, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't been open to the idea at that point, but nothing I can do about that. At any rate, I tried to just tell you what's on my mind without getting upset or pointing fingers. I really am doing things to try to show you I love you. But babe, I'm not perfect. I never will be. And it really worries me that I heard you say you worship the ground I walked on. It's not me that you should worship or look for answers. It's Jesus. I know you know that, but baby, I'm crushed when I disappointed you, and it seems to be all that I am doing lately. I'm trying to change in a way that will minimize it, and I'm praying and seeking. Maybe I'm saying too much at this point. I hope you have a good day so far. I won't bother you anymore. Love you, Matthew.